Stream. All right, just gonna do some testing because my thing doesn't let me test me beforehand. All right, take that link. Oh, Jesus Christ, I hasn't changed the name. Okay, tweet. Okay, testing. Okay, testing. Okay, that's working. Oh yeah, I did have a strike. I need to change the title of the stream because it didn't change it for me. That's always annoying. But yeah, that's still true. Let's call it pre-video stream. Stream. Save. That'll do. Yeah, I mean, I'm over it. The streaming service hasn't updated my title. Hopefully, my title just updated. But yeah, that did happen. Ghibli did strike a video, and I can't get rid of it because YouTube's run by bots, and I can't talk to any real people. And YouTube has decided my claim wasn't legitimate, so I can't do anything about it now. How's it going, everyone? Right, I'm just setting up the stream here, just making sure it's all working properly. So if you just give me a moment, I'll make sure everything's right. Okay. Where are we at? Okay. Remove that. I think. Yeah, it is the YouTube game. I'm doing what I can with it. Just gotta move some stuff so it's safe. Alright, I'm gonna move my laptop over there. And now I'm gonna see if I can get up the chat on my phone, because that will save me messing around with my laptop. Let's see if I can find the chat on my phone. There it is. All right, I'm more or less together now, actually. Have they changed? Has my title updated yet? Yeah, it's updated now. Right, let me get the pre-videos thing up. How's it going, Flugmorph? Yeah, I can't be bothered to turn off the facial recognition on my camera, so that's just how it's going to be now. This is the future. Facial recognition is a thing. We're all being watched. Deal with it. Oh, the cat wants to leave my room. Bye-bye, cat. Thanks, Vlogmorph. You're looking very bird-like as usual. I hope you're having a good day. And someone's asking about the Ghibli strike because that's what the thing used to be called. This stream, yeah, it was Ghibli. It was definitely Ghibli who DCMA'd it. Disney have nothing to do with their digital streaming process. They don't even really own any of their licensing now. I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I've cut all the hair. You know, quarantine hair was too much to deal with, so now I have no hair. Elsie, is it Elsie? Easy peasy? Anyway, I appreciate what's easy peasy saying there. Yeah, the strikes come and go. I mean, there's not much I can do about it, I'm afraid. I did actually have a Porco Rosso video that I wanted to release, but I physically can't release it for another, I think it's still 3 months. It's on Patreon, but like I can't physically release the video. It would be too dangerous for the channel just because there's another 5 other videos on my channel where Ghibli haven't claimed, which means they could delete my channel in about 24 hours if they wanted to. Well, I guess it'd be like 48 hours. So yeah, I'm not really risking that right now. But yeah, this is my pre-video stream, which because there is a new video coming out tomorrow on a Japanese band and Japanese animated music videos. That's out tomorrow. I could have released it today, but I wanted to stream instead, and I can release it tomorrow. I hear Wednesday is a popular day for releasing stuff, so we'll see how that goes. Currently on Patreon, but yeah, new video out tomorrow night. Let's see. Oh, it's Elsie. Elsie, okay. I'll take it, Elsie. I know how it be. I know how it be to have a name that you make and no one pronounces it correctly. I know the pain. I mean, for $1, everyone gets the Porco video. I mean, you can PayPal me the $1 if you want. If that's easier, I'll just send you a link then. Hey, buddy. So, do you know if there was an automatic strike or a manual one? It's a bit complicated in that situation because the video they striked wasn't even a proper video. It was a test video. I think it might have been a mixture of both because it wasn't automatically flagged. It didn't get flagged on the first day. It was flagged about 24, 48 hours after it was uploaded. I only uploaded it just to see if anything was like picked up by the bots. Nothing was at first, but then, a day later or something, they deleted it. And I didn't know they could delete unlisted videos, but that's a thing that can happen. And I didn't reply back with a big old copy pasta of, the Marine saying, "What the fuck did you just say to me, motherfucker? You DCMing me? This is my legal rights." I was just like, "No, it's fair use. Leave me alone." And YouTube decided I was not telling the truth and didn't send the claim to Ghibli. Ghibli's email that they give you is also a broken email that doesn't go anywhere. So effectively, there's no one you can talk to. So I guess it's a mixture of both. Like it would have probably been it may have been late. It may have been like the bots later flagging up the video and then Ghibli sending a manual claim after finding that out a day or two later. That's how I'm guessing it has to be. Something like that anyway. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing all right. I'm a bit tired. I've been a bit tired the last couple of days. I was making a video on a different topic. I was making a video on a topic about, God, what was it like? What was the topic? Oh, there was an artist, I think his name is Jun Fukamachi, sort of like jazz fusion, electronic, dark synth, classical. I don't know, he's a bit wacky. He's a bit of a wacky man. I was making a video on one of his albums, and then I found out about the situation with the musical band I wanted to talk about, or I will be talking about tomorrow. Their name is, I think it's Suya. No, I think it's Suto Maya. Suto Maya. I think that's how you pronounce it. Suto Maya or Maya. Maya. So something like that. So it means forever midnight, I think it means, or endless midnight, one of those. So endless midnight, they're like a new Japanese, I guess they're kind of like a J-rock, J-pop band, but they got really popular, especially of late, because they have a lot of very particular music videos, like animated music videos. Most of their popularity comes from these 10 animated music videos they've made. They released a new one about 3 weeks ago, and it did really well very fast. And it got a lot more international buzz from places outside of Japan than usual. You'll see the comment section is full of French, German, Spanish, English, and Japanese comments. And yeah, it seemed, and even the title of that video that they uploaded happens to have English in brackets, which is the first time that's happened. So obviously they know this is more, it's becoming more attracted to by an English audience. Yeah, you can get a strike on a video that isn't even out. Isn't that a nice thing to know? It doesn't really usually happen, but I imagine that's why maybe bots were involved, because I'm guessing the bots flagged it at some point, but then they took the manual claim on themselves. So they made that decision to delete it by themselves afterwards. Hello. Is that Volno? I'm not sure how to say that. Volno. I'm gonna go with Volno. Um, well, I think at the time it kind of sucked, but like, I mean, that was like a couple weeks ago now, and I just kind of have to accept it. It's lame, but it happened. But there's not really much I can do about it now. It's done. I just have to wait it out basically, and be safe. It's kind of annoying in a way. I did have more Ghibli ideas to do, but now it's very unlikely that'll happen like frequently. Um, I could see a Nausicaa video happening because I think I'm less likely to get taken on it because I'd want to talk mainly about the manga then the movie. And if I talk about the manga long enough in live action with the manga in front of me and showing pages and doing some motion comics occasionally, I think that will make them fall asleep long enough that they probably won't notice that I use a couple of movie clips later on. That would be my plan. And then maybe I'll see if is it Hayabashi? The one that did the burrows and the other ones. I could probably do something on him. I wonder if they actually claim his videos or not. I'd have to look it up. And then if there was another one, it would probably be anything just like loosely connected, like a Conan or one of the other creators that kind of left the studio that has done stuff. Okay, what are we saying here? Yeah, well, I usually know how the Matrix bots go. I think I'd gotten a little complacent there because back when I used to do these uploads with Ghibli and stuff like that, they just block your videos if it was unlisted and stuff like that. They weren't like quite as aggressive, 6 months ago. So if you got caught by Ghibli, you'd probably just get blocked worldwide. For a test video, that wouldn't even matter to me. Like I wouldn't even care. Like it was never supposed to be shown. I was just testing out my footage for the day. Like I hadn't cut it all down yet. So there was one clip in there which was a little bit too long. And it got caught by Ghibli because their bots can only catch things that are about 14 or 15 seconds long anyway. And I have been re-editing the video a couple times. The latest version of the video right now has actually got claimed by a British studio, Canal UK, I think they're called Canal Studios. They have the distribution rights for like the United Kingdom for Porco Rosso, and they have claimed the video. Nothing happened to me though. It's like in a secret bunker place, but it got claimed because of the length of one certain clip, which I might just have to adjust or change. But I think it's mostly in the clear. I'll worry about that in like 3 months' time when I'm re-uploading it. I'll just replace one little bit of it. I think the rest of it's clean. How's it going, Door 88? I'm sleepy and I'm sitting here in my bathrobe. How is everyone doing tonight, or whatever it is for you guys? I'm just sitting down and chilling. This is my chill stream. There's gonna be a new video out tomorrow, by the way. It's about what's the name? Suyo Mato. Endless Forever Midnight, I think it's supposed to be from Japanese to English, or Endless Midnight. One of the two. Japanese J-rocky J-pop band, very energetic, young, very strong instrumentation, very tight with their like piano, guitar, bass playing, and the drums. Very, very strong melodies. They've been doing really well for a band that started, from what I can tell, as independent. I don't know. Maybe they're like a deep state. Like maybe this is like a plant because they seem to have a lot of Vocaloid talent behind them. I'm suspicious that they may be some sort of synthetic Vocaloid live action band, but who have faked their grassroots appeal. But I guess we'll see. Uh, One Piece. Yeah, there's some One Piece in the background. There's some One Piece on my library case there. Yeah, I hope everyone enjoys the new video. I think I missed the hype maybe because it was a really high trending topic a couple of days ago when I first looked at it. I was quite surprised how big this band was on like the worldwide trending sentence, but I think everyone stopped caring after 48 hours of the real big boom. So I may be late to the party now. So I guess those who care will care. That's how it's going to be. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Maybe people will watch it in droves. It's got a nice thumbnail. I've got a good thumbnail going for it. It's good to bring back those purples. Yeah, actually, ooh, I better send a message to my friend and tell him I'm live. Well, I gotta tell him. He said he wanted to show up. I'm live. There we go. All right. He's got the message now. I can resume doing whatever I was doing. You know, not trying not to fall asleep. YouTube wants me to get Premiere. Fuck off, YouTube. I'm in the middle of streaming and they're trying to sell me stuff. What's wrong with them? What's wrong with YouTube, eh? All right. I can't actually read that. Is Chipotle? Is that Chipotle your life? Chipotle. I don't know what. I'm not. What was it? Fares said. Fares R. I don't know what you're trying to say. I don't know what Chipotle is. Is that like an American restaurant? Just thought about the last stream today. I can't remember what I even did in the last stream. That was probably the Ghibli stream, I'm guessing, about the strikes and all that. I'm guessing that was the last time I streamed. When I was telling people, yeah, that the Porco Rosso video is like stuck in limbo for another 3 months, which is unfortunate because I know that video would do good. Oh, so it's food? I don't know what, like, I'm not from America, so I don't know what a Chipotle is. I think it's is it an American restaurant or something like that, or is it a type of food? I'm a vegetarian, so I don't know. I don't even know if I can have it. Right. So yeah, I mean, if I haven't already said it before, tomorrow, new video coming out about Japanese music again. I'm attempting to do some more live action stuff with Japanese music because I wanted to get more stuff out. And I think that I haven't talked about Japanese music properly in a long time. And usually it's because to do a video with montages and editing and stuff like that, it's very intense. And I don't think a lot of it is as necessary as it needs to be. There is certainly sequences within my videos where I think like, yeah, that's worth going in and doing my montaging and my editing and collaging. But there's a lot of stuff where I'm chatting where it's probably better off that it would just be easier to be on the camera and just working in that way. It saves a lot of time in editing. I mean, something that could take 4 weeks of my time could take 7 days instead, just because of the extra footage. Now, this video I'm releasing tomorrow is one of those cases where that's not really how it went, because 12 minutes of that video is strictly editing music videos and not me on screen. So, like, how long is that video? I think only 6 minutes of it must be live action me, or maybe it might even be might be even less than 6 minutes. I'm gonna say 5 minutes of it is me live action, and the other 13 minutes is just hardcore editing, which yeah, it was a little intense. That's why I'm pretty blasted. Oh yeah, the camera will keep. Yeah, the camera knows where I am. I didn't turn off the face recognition thing because I couldn't be bothered. So we just imagine we're in like a cyberpunk future, which we are in, and the government is watching me, or maybe it's YouTube. That's what it is. Yeah, I mean, I think the music videos are cool, especially the newest one. The newest video, I think it's called "Study Me." Was it? However you say the name of the band, Sutomayo, or Muya, Sutomuya. Whatever the fuck their name is, I can barely remember. Forever Midnight, Endless Midnight. I'm gonna go Endless Midnight, Japanese band. How do they call themselves? Their newest video is called "Study Me." Has Kung Fu Piggy, I think the name is on Twitter, or I think their actual name is like Watanabe something. They're a young animator by the look of it, young animator illustrator, who basically headed the character designs and the process of the video. It's a really good looking video. It looks a bit like Skullgirls if it was like an animated music video. Really nice. Ah, yes, the Maria Takeuchi video, the Takeuchi, right? All right. Yeah, the Maria Takeuchi video was a trip. That was a time. Actually, because July is coming up again and it's almost the anniversary, I was thinking of doing another Maria video, but a bit more lo-fi. It would be me like just chatting and talking about her other albums, because that video is mainly just about one song and a bit about the history of city pop and her history. But it would be cool to just sit down and talk about like the aftermath of that video, and then just talk about like some of her most famous city pop tracks, like albums, and just talk about what I like about them. Mainly probably the 80s stuff. I'm probably more a fan of her 80s work than like anything that she did later than that. But yeah, I could talk about 3 of her albums and then bring the context of the aftermath, her English interview, and other situations that happened drama-wise, including the original Plastic Lover video getting taken down, with the help of me and a couple others getting it back up. You know, it was a crazy time. It was a crazy, crazy time. So yeah, that's how it be. Yeah, I expect another Maria Takeuchi video. Nothing crazy, nothing wild. Maybe I'll do a painting in the video. That could be nice. Maybe I'll do a nice little painting in the video. Nice little Maria painting or something like that. That could be cute. I could see that being like a fun little thing to do in the video. While I talk about all her cool little albums. I mean, I'd probably come out in the end by saying I think it's like Miss M being the best one, but I mean, I'll give a good listen to all her 80s output and give it my honest opinion about what comes out on top, what you should be listening to. Yeah, the Goro video. I think I watched the Goro video again not so long ago for a commentary track for the Patreon stuff. Yeah, I like that video. It's fine. I think there's some minor things about it which is a bit, yeah, but I think it was an improvement in style, and it was easy enough to talk about these 3. I appreciate where Goro's going. In fact, the Goro video seems to actually gained a lot of traction of late. I appreciate that. I imagine Goro, as a creator, might himself be gaining quite a bit of traction. I look forward to his new film, his new 3D CGI film made exclusively at Ghibli, because I imagine it will have a different flavor to his prior 3D work, just because it will probably have better, no offense to Polygon, but better, more in-depth animation, because it's a full Ghibli feature. I'm sure it has a full proper budget instead of TV budget, and it has, I imagine, more talented CGI artists. They're probably going to be going for something a bit more Pixar than I imagine, like that stock 12 frames per second CGI they try and do in anime a lot of the time. That's my guess, at least. I think they're going to go for something a lot more high production value, to really try and push it to like a wide market. That would be the smart thing to do. I would totally make a video on that as soon as I can, though I think Ghibli would come down on my ass very fast. But it would probably be worth it. I mean, I'd like to see if Goro is progressing. I'd like to like. I'm rooting for him. He seems like he seems like a sweetheart. That Goro. He's been through a questionable upbringing. Man, he couldn't even watch Space Battleship Yamato. He couldn't even watch Space Battleship Yamato. His fucking dad's forcing him to watch Heidi instead of Space Battleship Yamato. Man, that must have sucked. I mean, Heidi is a great show, but dude, just let the guy watch the battleships, man. He just wants to watch the sci-fi battleships. Let him do that. Sometimes you don't want to watch the comfy little girl in Switzerland. You want to watch bang bang shooty in space, because that stuff's cool. All right, we've got Jade Deku. Hey, I'm just going to leave, but before I do, I'll say you're great, and so are your videos. Also, love them to look. Thank you, JD. Is it Deku? Deku, right? J Deku. I appreciate. I mean, it's my quarantine look now. I had too much hair. It was too powerful, and it was starting to like contract me. It was forcing itself into my eyes, forcing itself all over my forehead, and making it break out. And it was too much. It was too much to deal with. All of it, all the beard and everything. So I thought I'd just get rid of it all. I needed some change, so I did it, and it feels good. It's nice being a bit more breezy, especially when it's so warm. Where were we? So it's LZPC, right? Is that how you say it? LZPC? All right. That honestly would be great. I'd love your channel. So many ideas. Was it? Love your channel. So any idea of yours is incredible. I forget what that's in relationship to, but I will just say thanks. I'm hoping you have a good time. Do you still think? Do you think you'll look like the CH Lupin movie? Which one's the CH? Oh, you mean the CG? Oh, I see. Yeah, the 3D. Do you think it will look like do I think it will look like the CG Lupin movie? No, I don't think it will look quite like that because that's a very particular studio that does that sort of work. I don't think it will look exactly like that, but I do think it will be in the similar kind of style. I think they will be going for that kind of animation, but not quite that look. I have a feeling that the Ghibli art design, from my experience with the company, I do believe they're going to try and retain a lot of the Ghibli look, like what you expect their animation to look like, but in 3D, but with much more bouncy, flowy animation. Like, say for example, I would probably say this is a weird comparison, but take like Despicable Me 2 or 3 or how many Despicable Me's there are now. That kind of very floaty, bouncy animation, very and very strong reaction faces. That kind of thing, but with a sort of Ghibli-esque British look to it. That's how I'm gonna think it would look. That's my assumption. I think they may try and retain a little bit of the original art style of the book that the author came from. An art video. I can't remember what what art video was I talking about. Was I talking about painting with Maria? Was that the idea? I forget. Yeah, it could be something like that. I mean, the other new video I made last week, about Hiroshi Yoshimura, I believe his name is, the ambient artist. I'm a big fan of just listening to it in the background when I'm writing and all that. I did a painting for that video. That was fun, but quite difficult to set up, though I've done it once now, so I imagine it'll be a lot easier to set up on repeat. I just hope the weather stays because it's basically really difficult for me to do that kind of thing if I'm not doing it outside. It was easy enough to set up outside when it's bright. That wasn't an issue, but doing it inside I think would be an absolute nightmare to set up because I'd need to like specify lighting and make sure everything's working properly and trying to get the camera somewhere that it would be okay. I don't know. It would be a thing. I don't have a camera stand, guys. I stand my camera on books. Right now, the camera that I'm looking into is stood on a record player and some books. That's how I do things around here. It's lo-fi as all hell. I'm not a professional, okay? Especially when it comes to live action stuff. A gamer moment. Yeah, yeah, we're all gamers here, aren't we, lads? Kids these days only don't know Girl of the Alps. All they know is boom, boom, battleships and space. I mean, that's how it was. They were fighting. Battleship and Heidi were fighting for the top ranks of who was the most viewed animation on TV at that time. So I imagine Miyazaki wasn't having any of that shit. He wasn't going to be beaten by Yamato, though I think Yamato might have won in the end. I forget. Yeah, Heidi was very big in a lot of countries that wasn't English speaking. And I respect to it because I think Heidi's a great show to watch. It's very calming, very soothing, very dadcore. I appreciate Heidi. Great show. Great show. Very pretty. Probably pushing the boundaries of what they could do in 1974 in terms of just like that kind of polished animation. I think in terms of experimentation, Ashita no Joe was breaking the experimental mold in 1970, but Heidi was really pushing like the level of animation frames and quality you could have in a TV show on the weekly. That's for sure. Could I do a painting of Junko Ohashi? Is she the one who has the picture where she has a gun to? Can you actually see that? Yeah, you would be able to. She has like a gun to her head in one of her pictures. Is that Junko? I think I have Junko on the list somewhere. Um, may happen. I think she did It's one of her songs, the one that became like a dancing meme song. Is that Junko or Junko? Yeah, it'd be Junko, right? Junko. Junko, right? Do I still animate? Yeah, I've animated in the last couple of videos, right? When was the last time I animated? Oh God, when was the last time I animated? I'm guessing it was the Ghibli cycling anime or the fake cycling anime, the Madhouse Ghibli cycling anime. I think that's the last time I did animation on the channel. So that would have been like a month or two ago. But I mean, there's a fair few videos on the channel where I actually animate on. Or most of the early music videos, Rio, Fukui, Plastic Love, New Jabez, and then Yoichi Kotabe video. The which one? Which one did I animate on? The Whisper of the Heart video. There's a small piece of animation in the Cat Returns video. Yeah, it's there. So, oh yeah, do I still animate? Okay. Have I seen the YMS video where he goes into detail about the Lion King versus Kimber controversy in order to debunk the Disney rip-off Tezuka claims? I think you mentioned the video, but how much time did you take? Okay, this is two separate questions. All right, yes, I did see that video. I did see the video on the Tezuka thing. I thought it was good. Maybe 20 minutes or somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes longer than I would appreciate it being, though I think he's trying to be as thorough as possible because of how much research it took. Although it is a little bit, how would I put it? There is a pattern when it comes to Disney about what they do, and it usually involves having plausible deniability. And with Kimber, I mean, you can generally see that Kimber, probably in like maybe partial idea, may have inspired like one or two things in Lion King in like a very abstract way. Like, yeah, maybe a couple of the animators saw Kimber, and that's how it was, which is fair. But generally, if you notice a lot about the Renaissance era of Disney, they've obviously have people on the crew that have watched the Japanese versions of a lot of the films they were making in the 90s. If it would be like the Toei versions in the 70s or the Toei versions in the 80s, there are definitely a couple ideas I think they were like grabbing from Japanese animation at the time. That's how I feel about it. And I think they do grab and pick because it's really easy to get away with that because when you're talking about folklore tales, grabbing someone else's version of a folklore tale is very hard to argue for in a court, and it wouldn't go anywhere. Like, I think the big one that is worth mentioning here is probably like the thief and the cobbler, because the thief and the cobbler and Disney are obviously, obviously Disney saw the thief and the cobbler and was like, we're going to do our version of that. Now, did they rip off the thief and the cobbler? Not particularly, but they took the theme, they took the idea, they took the bombastic main like antagonist or character idea. They took animators off The Thief and the Cobbler and brought them into their project, and then they released their film before The Thief and the Cobbler was even finished to basically, I don't know, wipe it off the market, I guess. I don't know what their mentality was, but by releasing their film first, if that was the intention, and then buying The Thief and the Cobbler, remember they did that, they bought The Thief and the Cobbler later on. They basically just wiped the competition off the floor. And I just wouldn't put it past Disney for being like an asshole and intentionally doing stuff like that. The thing that fucks me off about the Kimber situation is that they sent that cease and desist letter to the Kimber movie from, was it 97, 98? They sent them a cease and desist letter so they couldn't play it at theaters in different areas. And I think there may be some issue with like home releases that maybe Disney have been interacted with, but I can't speak for that. But yeah, I generally think that's a little messed up that Disney is just, pointing their big copyright dick wherever they want. And I, this is the issue, right, though, with a lot of this. Like, the copyright rules that we abide by are pretty much designed by Disney. Like, Disney lobbies the people that make these rules and change them every, like, 5 or 10 years. Because, I mean, we could argue that, like, if copyright rule was different and it was, like, 50 years or whatever, then Tezuka wouldn't even have the rights to Kimber anymore, and this wouldn't even be, like, a conversation. It would be, like, it would be gone. But, Disney has other plans for copyright copyright 200 years. That's their plan. That's Disney's ultimate plan, is copyright 200 years after you die, and then another 200 years after you die again. Anyway, that was a tangent, but yeah, I thought the Kimber video that YMS did was good. Very good research project, albeit perhaps a little bit longer than I needed it to be. How much time did I make that painting? Are we talking about the painting from the Hiroshi Yoshimura? I think it was under 2 hours. It wasn't that long. I mean, yeah, it was probably like 2 hours. It took a lot longer to shoot because there was like setting it up, and then there was like leaving it to dry, and then there was like coming back to it later, and then trying to set the camera back up again. So I think the period of like doing it all was a lot longer than actually painting it. But I would say no more than 2 hours painting that picture. Yeah, it's the one I'm thinking of. Junko. Yeah. I had an idea to do a video on her maybe at one point. I just don't know what I would say. But like with a more loose format, like me just chatting in front of my camera, I probably could say enough about her stuff to like make a video if I felt like it. Uh, I put it. I guess it's on the list. Let's put it that way. Oh shit! So the Shaolin. Hey man, congratulations on being on the cusp of 40K. You're my favorite channel I found. Oh, that's very. I appreciate being favorite. It's always weird when people tell you you're favorite now because I guess when you're a creator for a while, you kind of have the perception you're still like a baby. You know, you're like 200 subs and no one really watches your stuff. But I guess things have changed quite a lot over the last years, and I appreciate when people really like the stuff. I mean, I'm just making like I'm kind of compulsive, so I'm continuously making. I'm trying to change the way I make things currently with the live action stuff, just so I have more time to work on bigger projects. Because really, where my passions lie are probably on the more large scale style projects where I can really like feel my way through. While the other projects are more like fun little warm up experiments that kind of go on too long and drive me a little insane. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. You acknowledge the works that deserve and to be talked about, but are largely forgotten. Yeah, I mean, I try and talk about stuff that has been forgotten and I think should be remembered in some way. I try to. It's not always easy to do that, but I think I've gotten a good track record on some stuff. In fact, it's very weird to think now how big some of the videos I did on some of the more weird stuff. Like, I guess Thief and the Cobbler was already big, but like I didn't expect my video to ever get that big on it. Because you got to think that video had 3,000 views when I first made it, like the first month. Like it wasn't doing like hot or anything like that, and it didn't get much views at all until last year sometime. Twice it like blew up twice in the last, so it was very slow burn. And it's the same with the King and the Mockingbird video. Very slow burn video. Now it's got like 80,000 views or something ridiculous like that. And it just keeps going. It's weird to see when a video does that, but I think I appreciate that that can happen because sometimes it does feel like quite. I mean, with those videos, I don't know if I cared at the time or not, but when you like make a video and you spend a lot of time and you put a lot into it, I don't know if those specifically. I think maybe the King and the Mockingbird video I think was a very hard video for me to make personally from a writing perspective, and I was proud of it. Though I think the audio track on it is kind of shit. My narration was botched. I de-essed it and sound gated it really bad. So I think the audio in that video is not great at all. But I do think what I was saying was good, and I appreciate that video quite a lot. And I'm really happy that a lot of people have seen it now because that's definitely a hidden gem. But yeah, like it can feel a little bit shit when like a video you spend a lot of time on just like gets no views and it kind of just falls and into the drain. But it's always really nice when you see it come back like years later and explode, even if you don't know why. Unfortunately, in my experience, the reason why most of these videos that come back out of nowhere is that the creator that I'm talking about dies, and then like it creates like a resurgence for his work. Suddenly, my video gets 5 times the views, which it's sad and unfortunate, but I guess at least they're finally people are enjoying the work. I guess. What else can I say? Yeah, Heidi was everywhere. Heidi was everywhere but the UK and America. I think there might have been a Canada dub somewhere, but yeah, Heidi was like everywhere but the UK and Canada and America. But I think there was something in Canada. So like, I mean, I've heard people live from France and Italy and Germany all talk about it. In fact, there's a German CGI remake of the show, not of the novel, but actually of the 2D show. They remade Takahata's show in 3D for German audiences or something like that for kids. So it's wild. Are you ever gonna do another monthly themed thing? Maybe. I mean, it wasn't that long ago I did the last one, right? I've already done 2 of them. I could see it happening. I could totally see it happening, but I just need a topic in mind. The topic I had in mind last time I was thinking about it would be Sanrio films, like Sanrio animated films. I've already talked about a couple of those now, technically, but I think that would be a fascinating month just to sort of go through all the Sanrio different movies and their history. I think that would be cool. I can't think of anything else I would like to do on a monthly basis, just because like that's a lot of videos, that's a lot of time. I think you need to have something that you're really interested in, like really breaking down or like getting into. Yeah, the unreleased Nemo, right? Yeah, I mean the Nemo thing was insane. In fact, especially nowadays because you can watch there are some clips now of like the widescreen HD versions of like the unreleased pilots. So you can see it now in like its full glory. And it would have been great to see it. I just don't think that the film would have ever been made anyway. I think the best you could have got is that 5 minutes. I don't think the rest of the film would have ever been made just because of what a nightmare it was production wise. In fact, I've heard the word on the street is that it was Yakuza problems. There was some money laundering going on at TMS at the time or something like that. Allegedly, I don't know. I've only heard the word. This is the word on the street, word on the grapevine. I don't know what actually happens at TMS or the in between companies, but apparently there was some dirty work going on, and that's why the film was such a mess when it finally came out. Even though it took like 10 years, the film did not look like it took that time. Yeah, I mean, it's Switzerland based, but like you could probably take it for like most of Europe because Miyazaki was basing it on his personal experience going to Switzerland, I think. But I don't think he took any photos. I think it was mainly just like his perception that he like mentally took a photo of in his brain. I think he can do that. I think he did some studies, he did some drawings, and then used that to base it on. And he probably has some books, I'm sure, somewhere. Jesus Goal. Yeah, I mean, I've made a fair few videos on Ghibli. Unfortunately, Ghibli did take a strike to my channel recently, which has put me off doing any more videos on them for quite a while, just because it endangers the life of my channel to do anything right now. The Porco Rosa video I did make had to be put on lockdown, and it's only on Patreon now until 3 months' time, when I have to play the whole song and dance once more. Once more, we will play the song and dance of what would you call the song and dance here? Like the song of dance of releasing the video, hoping they don't delete it. Maybe they'll delete it, and then having to fight for it. That's going to be my future. Heidi as international experience. Yeah, I mean Heidi is very international. I mean, I think the novel itself is quite popular, but the series itself, and especially in Europe, is huge, and maybe even in like I think it's quite big in Egypt too. I have a feeling it is. Some of the other stuff like that is quite big there. Just big everywhere, really. Besides where I live. Hello, Jack. Jack Hampson. Um, oh, is Droid there? Are you asking why they strike my channel? Because they're boomers. That if I had to be honest, it's basically that they're just boomers. They have a copyright department, and their rule is that unless you're a big company who license out their footage or they get permission from them, they will not let you have their footage. That's just how Ghibli is. But they're too much of a coward to fight me in court. Because I would win. if they actually did sue me, which I don't even think they really can, I don't know, it's a bit messy. They're sending the DCMA to YouTube. They're trying to make YouTube liable for what I post on it, and then they're pushing it to me. They'd have to sue me in the end, but I don't think they would do it because it's a whole mess. Where are they going to sue me? They're going to sue me in America, in England, or in Japan? They can't sue me in Japan because I'm not a Japanese citizen. Are they going to sue me in the UK? Do they have UK lawyers? I don't know. Are they going to sue me in America because YouTube's an American site? Are we both going to have to like pay for American lawyers? It's just ridiculous. It's such a farce, but they would not do. It would also look horrible. This man made a glowing like retrospective on one of your films, or like many of them, which were very cats at the door, which people seem to quite like and got lots of views. And now you're suing him for making that video. That would look nice. That would look real good. Be like suing an artist for doing fan art, right? All right, let's look at how did I get into J-Jazz, Japanese jazz? Probably through Ryo Fukui. I think Fukui was the artist that I found first in Japanese jazz, though. I mean, it's debatable because I was listening to a lot of different stuff at the time, a lot of stuff that was kind of like adjacent or related to it. So it's hard to say. I mean, I think the YouTube algorithm probably had a part in like my general like playlist of listening to that. I'm trying to think back if there was anything before then. Come on, cat. It would probably be like Japanese video games then, because I mean, there's a lot of jazzy stuff in Japanese video games like Persona with Megaton. Yeah, I know, Billy. Oh, okay, that's the thing. Wait a minute, I'll message. Shush, cat. I know, Billy. Billy's just telling me that my facial square is on. I just don't. I'm just going to respond to him. I know, Billy. I just don't care that the facial recognition thing is on. It's the future, and I'm being captured by the government and also YouTube at the same time. There's a square on my face. Deal with it. Oh, Billy can hear the cat. Hey, oh, you're in the chat now, Billy. Okay, I guess you got that then. What were we saying beforehand? How did I get into J-Jazz? Probably through, yeah, if it wasn't through the YouTube system of listening to stuff on there, it would be through Japanese video games. If that would be Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or Persona with Megaton, maybe what other games have a heavy jazz like Gran Turismo? There's a lot of Japanese games that have quite a bit of J-Jazz in them. It seems to be quite a popular. What do you want, cat? You want to come over here? You want to be on camera? Huh? Or are you just going to scream at me? You can't. Typical. She's making a fuss. It's not your stream, it's my stream. Companies don't care. Their IPs and IPs are super protective of it. Yeah, that's basically how it goes. The same as when certain musician who exists within a niche genre takes down music, even though it's beneficial them to take it down. Anyway. Yeah, it's really difficult in a way when it comes to that stuff because I don't think DCMAs, shush cat, DCMAs for the most part do not benefit the musician. They're the illegal defense to try and help the musician, but they don't benefit them. By taking down a music video of their music, you are not helping the artist. In fact, you're making them less relevant. But it also is fair for them to be like, well, if someone's putting my music up on the internet, I should be compensated for it, surely. Which is where systems like claiming money comes from. Unfortunately, a lot of people on the outside the system who aren't part of a giant company cannot just claim revenue off a YouTube video. They can only get it deleted, which is where it gets really bullshit and where systems and companies have the ultimate thing. Now, I think this whole system is about to fall apart at some point, and I kind of hope it does because I fucking hate it. But I hope the system that replaces it is much better, especially for the creator, because at the end of the day, when I make a video about something, I'm usually doing it because I want the creator to get something better. I want the creator to have a better experience. I want their work to be more well known. I want them to be more appreciated, and I probably want them to get paid. You know, who doesn't want to get paid? You know, at the end of the day, you got to make a living. You know. Where are we at? Have I ever thought about doing something on Mazinga Get a Robo? I've been meaning to get into that, but I have no idea where to start. I'm actually watching Get a Robo Armageddon right now, or I was. I got distracted because I'm watching a bunch of Gundam right now. Ghetto Robo Armageddon is the coolest thing ever. I think that's not an understatement to say it is like the most hot-blooded, ridiculous, like super robot show I've ever seen. It's cool. Mazinga C, there's like a newer Mazinga C film that came out from Toei a couple years back, using some of their newer processors. That looks pretty shiny. I mean, that looks cool. I don't know Mazinga C as well. But yeah, Get a Robo Armageddon is really cool. The original manga of Get a Robo is also cool. You could read those. If I'd make a video about it, I don't know. I think Shabes or Caribou Kun is making a video related to it about Gurren Lagann. So mainly Get a Robo. I don't know about Mazinga C. But yeah, I think that would probably be a better bet to watch his video on it, because I imagine that will get the basis out there. I don't see I'd make one, to be honest. But you never know. I mean, I want to talk about Mecha, so maybe it'll happen. Just probably in a more broad sense. I need to get into them. I have no idea where to start. I did see missing. Oh, is that missing a character? SKL. I think generally with that sort of stuff, I think they're not. Get a Robo is more like serial. Like it has more of a story that continues. I don't think Mazinga C is, so I don't think you need to worry about Mazinga C. I think you can just jump in anywhere. I've tried to upload 2 Peko Vagina albums, which exist nowhere officially and nowhere unofficially on YouTube, but they were taken down. Yeah, that's kind of the nightmare system where, I mean, unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it because, well, you could definitely argue it belongs in a museum. It should be archived. Absolutely, 100% should be archived. The copyright owners probably just don't give a shit. They probably do exist, but on Japanese sites and not where average folk around these parts of this side of the sea can watch them or listen to them, which is really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that a company's interest is more in holding on to something and snatching it away than letting people enjoy it. But such is the systems that we are forced into. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it on the other side, I'm afraid. You don't own the work. It's not yours. I mean, you could plead with the artist to try and release it, I guess, but they don't speak English usually, so not much you can do. Kiri Windle. What is that white box that keeps tracking your face? It's scaring me. Yeah, the Ghibli. Yeah, it's the cyberpunk police. They're out to get me. They got a warrant for my arrest. The Ghibli police. They're tracking me down. They're all trying to take me down. You know. That's it's just the ticking time bomb, which is my life. Just live with it. Billy, you rock that square. Thanks, Billy. I know I rock the square. Hip to be squares, that's what they say. Outrun has one of the best J-Jazz tracks around. What version of Outrun are we talking about? Like the 2006 version, the original version? I mean, I've played a fair bit of Outrun, both versions. I think the 2006 version is really cool. I guess that's Outrun 2, is it? Yeah, Sega especially. Sega especially has really great jazz instrumentation, especially with their like Sega Sound Team, I believe it was called, because they went live. Like, there's a lot of live performances online you can find of them playing classical Sega pieces, but like, you know, with instrumentation, and they really kill it. So that stuff too. That stuff definitely would have been an influence. Racing games from Japan, yeah, often influenced by soundtracks, as T Square composed multiple pieces of Japanese music for Formula One. Yeah, T Square also composed, or members of T Square also composed the soundtrack for Gran Turismo. And a certain member of Cassiopeia, I think that's how you say their name, Cassiopeia. I think that's how it's actually supposed to be said. I always say Cassiopeia, but I think it's actually supposed to be Peia. But anyway, one of their members was actually on one of the Sega Rally soundtracks, I believe. It might have been one of the re-releases of it. Might not have actually been the actual game. But yeah, that's a banging soundtrack. The re-release version of it, especially, like I think they've just played it live, but it was, oh my god, it's fantastic. Sega Rally, whatever Sega Rally soundtrack it is, it's just absolutely killing it. I mean, the cat's a girl, but yeah, she's very she's just saying hello. She's just trying to be, she's trying to have a conversation with me when I'm having a conversation with you because she doesn't care. Final question. I'll stop hogging on the chat. Japanese literature. I need to get a drink because my voice is going. Natsumi Soko. Da 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 da. Unfortunately, not as much because I buy a lot of books, but usually it's non-fiction about Japan. Unfortunately, I don't even get to read those half the time. I just don't have the I have not set the time down to be reading lots of Japanese fiction, unfortunately. I'd like to. I would like to sit down and read more of it. I don't even know if I can. I don't know if I can actually buy it around these parts. I'd have to have a look. I imagine I can. But I have not sat down and read too much Japanese fiction, like literature style, just because of the nature of the situation. I'm usually running real hard into the next video or project or research. So yeah, most of the stuff I read is nonfiction. I'm unfortunate. Not nonfiction. Yeah, it's nonfiction, right? Yeah, most of the stuff I read about Japan is nonfiction, unless it's manga, and then usually that's related to another video. Wow, Blue Bamboo Music. You watched the whole of Legend of the Galactic Heroes just because of my video. That's insane. Because not even I watched the rest of the Legend of the Galactic Heroes after making my video. I tried to watch the second movie, and I just wasn't vibing with it at the time. I don't think it's bad or anything. I just wasn't vibing with the mood at the point. I thought the first movie was great. The second movie, I'm just not vibing with it so far, but maybe I'll finish it one day. The rest of it, who knows? The only reason I could possibly see me binging it all is if I was actually going to make a video on it, because if not, that's just a lot of time to focus on it. Well, I've got other stuff and other projects to work on and other stuff to watch for projects, but I don't know if I can really afford to be sitting down watching Legend of the Galactic Heroes because I'm compulsive. If I start watching it and I'm really enjoying it, I'm probably going to be watching like 7 episodes a day, and then where's my day going? All right, Big O. I have seen parts of Big O back when it was on TV, but I was never an avid watcher of Big O. It was a little bit weird for me at the time when I was like 8. I wasn't vibing with it. Nowadays, I probably would be vibing with Big O pretty hard, but I have yet to like revisit Big O. Unfortunately, probably should, but I just haven't got around to it. So I guess it'd be on the list maybe one day. Uh, Tanaka has composed for Formula One and Japan too. Masayoshi Tanaka, right? The name is familiar to me. The name is familiar to me. Um, but I can't put a face to names right now. Was he a member of Cassiopeia, or am I thinking of someone else? Yeah, an early life as a Chinese immigrant is probably an interesting minority position to be in during Japan, considering how they feel about the Chinese or any other Asian race. Aryans of the East, you know how they be in Japan when it comes to that sort of stuff. It's not a favorable thing. Ah, how's it going, bro? Mustafa? Mustafa? Is that how you say it? Mustafa? I'm hoping I'm saying the name correctly. I can't say anyone's name correctly, so don't worry about it. Yeah, how's it going, dude? I hope you're having a good time. All right. Unfortunately, couldn't plead anyway. He sadly died of cancer in his 40s, around a decade. Oh, God. So that's the worst one now, because it's not even him who's pleading cases for copyright. It's either a family member or whoever's like left and in control of his his IPs. What a nightmare that'd be. The idea of you pass on and someone else is controlling all your art forevermore, but they'd never even made. I always find that the most insane stuff where you can own the copyright of something that you never even made yourself. You just bought the rights for it. Oh, it's sick. Makes me sick. Right, I'm gonna go get. I'll be back in a second, chat. I'm gonna get a drink because my throat is too dry. I can't keep talking. Alright, I'm back. I didn't disappear. Chat, it's not over yet. Anyway, I should probably restate the reason I'm even here to begin with. Tomorrow, a new video is coming out on Suyamoto, whatever their name is. I should probably figure out what the name of the band is I'm actually making a video on. I forget. Their name means Endless Midnight in Japanese. They're a J-rock, J-pop band. Very catchy, very fun. Lots of very good music videos that they make. Good hooks, strong vocals. Nigen Isu, eh? I'll have to look Nigen Isu. That sounds like an interesting story. I always like those kind of stories. Some years ago, I watched 25 episodes per day for a week. Oof. Oof. Don't even know if that's possible. I guess it would be. Alright. Keep hydrated. I need a drink. He made the Rainbow Goblin and then blew up while back on YouTube. Interesting. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of from Cassiopeia. Because one of the members of Cassiopeia, the pianist, keyboards, they were very prolific in working with different projects. And doing things like train jingles and working on video games and all this other stuff. Alright, someone else is asking, how many times have I been to Japan? Unfortunately, I have not been to Japan yet, for many reasons. Mainly my occupation at the time, the hours I was working, the stuff I was doing, the money I had at the time. And the third one, the fourth one now, is that we're in the middle of a giant pandemic and other crises. So I'm not really in a position to be going anytime soon. Though the fifth reason would have been that I was actually supposed to be going with some friends. Like some of my friends did actually want to go. There was a period, I guess it would have been last year in April, where someone else I did know went to Japan, and I was considering just like last minute sorting out and going, but it just didn't happen for like, I guess, a plethora of reasons of sorting out stuff and it being just too much of a nightmare. But yeah, some of my friends really would like to go again. Well, some of them have already been, but we just haven't planned it out, and other things got in the way. And I generally don't really feel like going during the Olympics time. It would just be too busy. I do have debts to pay though in Japan, so I'll probably end up going to pay my dues in the far north. Yeah, I think I need to go to the far north. I need to go to Sapporo and pay my dues and do some nice things for people who have been very kind to me. Maybe one day, eh? Maybe one day. All right, let me just drink this. Okay, so yeah, reason this chat is going to begin with is because I'm releasing a new video tomorrow about, is it Suyomato or Sutomayo? I'm gonna say I think it's Sutomayo. I think that's actually Sutomayo, Japanese band, Japanese J-pop band, J-rock styles, big on the music videos, have been coming kind of international famous recently. Very mysterious band too. Don't have a lot about them. Really, they're only known for their music videos and some of their performances, but even their performances have quite a bit of mystique to them. And a lot of the big studio live events, they tend to play between a sheet that sort of obscures their vision, and they also play in quite dimly lit situations. Sometimes they play with masks. They have definitely a kind of, yeah, I guess you could say there's a mystique to the band. And they make good music, good, easy, breezy music. Let's have a look. See, I think the chat's been slow because I just got a bunch of comments all at once and I can't keep up with it. Where are we at? Yeah, okay, where are we at? Okay. Did I know if the Happy Birthday song? Yeah, the Happy Birthday song is copyrighted. It's a terrible song anyway, so I don't know why Warner Brothers wants to own that, but they do. It sucks, but they do. I don't really understand why a folk song like that possibly could be owned by anyone, but such is the case. I think there are better things we can do than a Happy Birthday song. Do I like City Hunter by chance? Now that's a hidden gem. City Hunter is like one of the most popular mangas of all time. Isn't like in the top 15. Hugely selling series. Now, maybe not in the West as much. I've watched a little bit of City Hunter. I'm kind of interested in watching the live action film. I think it's funny. With Mr. Jackie Chan. That seems like a fun time. But yeah, it's cool. It's fine. It's very much of its era. You know, what if Lupin was a cop? But then again, he's also a cop, so kind of fuck it. I'd rather watch Lupin. But no, City Hunter's cool. It was a fun series. Yeah, they're a cool band. Blue Bamboo Music. They're a cool band. Yeah, City Hunter is very popular. You don't get Chinese live action versions of your film if you're not very popular. Do you ever do any miniature painting? Miniature. What do you mean by miniature painting? What, like a Warhammer thing, or like that kind of thing, or is there like a backdrop for something? I don't know. I'm not really sure. I guess no to neither. No to either. Not really my thing, though. If I ever got like a little Gundam, I probably would. I'd like to paint a little Gundam. Maybe not like a huge one, but if it was like that big, I think that big would be nice. I could see myself doing that, maybe. Just because that would be cool to have. Okay, Necto here. Just want to thank you for your videos and all your work. I've learned so much about them. Found a lot of it interesting and inspiring. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Oh, thank you, Necto. I'm glad that my videos have made you feel good, that you've enjoyed them and they've taught you something at the same time. I think that's all I'm really asking for from people watching the videos. Like they get something out of it. And it's always nice to hear when people do. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean one day. Oh, what's that? Who is it? Droid Day? Yeah, Droid Day. Yeah, one day I'll probably go, but right now is not really the time. And it probably won't be the time for a long time, considering how Japan has been dealing with it, the pandemic. It doesn't sound like it's been great for the people of Japan. But yeah, I could see it happening one day. Genocyber. Someone's asking, is that Vlolno? I watched the OVA and read the manga to Genocyber. I still don't understand what they were aiming for. What's genocyber? What's that got to do with anything? Yeah, I'm going to Sapporo. If I'm going, I probably will have to go to Sapporo. Miniature. I have no idea. I don't know what kind of miniature painting we're talking about. I'm afraid. Um, are we talking like backdrops in a film? Is it that kind of miniature? I don't know. Oh yeah, the Rintaro video in X 1996 was great. I did watch it recently, and you couldn't have prepared me for that madness. No, I mean they kind of made it into like Devil Man, but X. It is insane, and I don't know. I think that people who are like into the manga or the manga, whatever you want to say, people who like that version of it or like the original of the TV show, I think they're kind of annoyed by how like incomprehensible the movie is. Though I generally think the movie is supposed to be an art film, and like it's more a thing that you'd feel. Like all the extra details about who they are and what they're doing doesn't really matter. It's all about the visual flow. I think the chaos is part of the charm, in my opinion, because yeah, it's don't expect it to play the cards straight. Though I suppose if you were coming into it blind, it might have really hit you, especially if you were a fan of the original. I imagine that could be quite bothersome. Oh yeah, Lupon's music as well. Lupon's music is amazing. I've been listening to Lupon's music for quite some time, so yeah, that would probably be an influence on my Japanese jazz beginnings. Great stuff. Someone's like, "Oh man, I should clip that one." Like Warhammer 40k stuff. It's not my forte. I've never tried it. I have friends who are into it. I know that I have some friends that are very much into the painting stuff. I think they find it quite therapeutic. I'm probably too much of like a compulsive person who's doing projects to like do something like that unless it was related to something that I could work into something I'm doing. I don't know if I'd find the peace within it, is what I'd say. I don't know if I would find much but frustration in it, just because if I'm painting for a project rather than unless I was using the miniature for something. But I mean, I see the appeal. It looks fun. It looks like a nice thing to do if you're into that. If I was doing it with someone, I think I would find it more interesting. If I was doing it if someone was introducing me to it, or if I was doing it with them because they wanted to do it, I think that could have been a really nice thing to do. Nice little activity, you know, good bonding exercise. But I can't see myself doing it on my own. So Lorenzo, is that Lorenzo? I'm afraid I can't say that first name because I don't want to butcher it. But Lorenzo, damn, I'm conflicted if you're hotter with long hair or short hair. That's a nice thing to say. I don't know. I personally prefer the longer hair. If I had to rate Stevens on like a gradient, I think there's a sweet spot with my hair where it's short but not too long. When it gets a little bit too long, I think it gets a little gross looking. I think the hair becomes a bit too much for my face. I think it becomes a bit too overcompensating, and you have to like pull it all back, or it ruins everything. So I think there's a good middle ground. I mean, I removed it all because it was just too much, and I thought it'd be funny just to shave it all off. And it's really convenient not having hair. I'll say that much. It's very convenient, and doing it yourself is a lot cheaper. Maybe I'll shave my hair more often because now it'll probably take like I don't know 3 months for it to grow back instead of like a month. My hair grows very quickly. It's a beautiful mess. Yeah, I imagine it would be. Hectrum, your channel is underrated. Thank you. Stephen, I have a question. Have I heard the Japanese version of Say So by Doja Cat? A lot of people have been calling it city pop and others. I have heard the Japanese version, yes. I would not call it city pop. Absolutely not, though. Because it's a cover of a Doja Cat song, right? And I don't think they changed the instrumentation that much from what I remember. It's just a cover. I mean, I guess if you played it with a city pop flavor, but I mean, city pop in itself is obviously influenced through a lot of older music from the 70s and 80s, a lot of AOR music and all that, jazz, disco, funk. And I mean, Say So has perhaps maybe an older tinge in some of its instrumentation. So maybe there's a connection there somewhere. I don't know. Say So's a nice song. I think it's pretty alright. It's okay. Okay, so Genocide was just an anime or manga. It's not related to anything we were mentioning. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I've heard the term before. I've heard people say it was confusing. That's all I remember, I'm afraid. I mean, I kind of like the more confusing stuff. I think it's quite fun. It's a madhouse. Yeah, I mean, I've been in the madhouse. You know, I'm all about that madhouse. Ah, Mazio Long? Is that how you say it? Marisa? Marisa? Long. I'm just going to say Long because I'm no good with names. Okay, Long, how's it going? I'm probably even saying that wrong now. Right, pretty much unnecessary gore. What are we talking about? What, Genocyber? I assume that's Genocyber. That sounds about right. I'm making a miniature Japanese farming village with my father at the minute. That sounds really good. That sounds like a fun thing to do. I had a friend who did something similar for a project at uni, but it wasn't like, it was a bit more malicious, but it was part of a project. But he made like a little miniature setup for something. But yeah, that sounds like a good, nice little exercise to do, to be honest. I'm sure it looked really nice. Probably almost a bit Zen-like, I'm sure, with the crops, the rice circles, the rice paddies, the rice fields, and the crops. I imagine that could be wheat and rice. Could be a good combo. Yeah. Yeah, I hope that goes well. Oh dear. All right. Someone saying that Doja Cat Say So has a future funk sound. I don't know if I could agree with that, but I mean, future funk is almost derived from the city pop sound. Let's count. I I don't know. I don't know what Doja Cat was listening to. I don't know what her producers were listening to. I don't know if she's a big future funker. She wears a t-shirt that says hentai on it, so maybe she knows something about. And like her first video, the one that she exploded was just covered in anime girls. So maybe she is a future funk fan. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, she might just be a fan of old classical 70s and 80s music. That's also possible with like a modern flair of production. I don't know. I don't know what the intention is. I wouldn't be able to read her mind. Okay, so it's a City Pop remix, is it? I mean, was it done by a City Pop artist? I mean, I guess it could be a remix. Uh, Maybe the song suits it. But then, like, if you change the language of a song and then remix the instrumentation to suit the genre, then you basically just change the genre, right? I don't know. Lorenzo was saying thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. I don't know what you're thanking me for, but no problem. Anytime. Do I have a background in animation? Yes, kind of. A little bit. I don't know, I'm not exactly the best animator in the world. My background's more in illustration, mixed media, but I did a lot of animation while I was doing it, but very specific types of animation, a lot of rotoscoping and After Effects based stuff, cut out, like 3D layers, anything like that, compositing, that kind of area is where I would be specialized in. but I'd say it's like K-pop from some years ago. I mean, K-pop in itself has a J-pop influence. I mean, well, K-pop is influenced by J-pop. I mean, it depends on the artist, though, I suppose. But K-pop is obviously far more popular than J-pop is currently. So obviously they know what they're doing in comparison. I mean, obviously K-pop knows what they're doing because they're spreading their stuff like wildfire all around the world. You know, they're doing the shows, they're doing the live performances. They're exploding with the fandom in a way that Japanese culture doesn't seem to. Oh wow, I don't want to say Japanese culture because I think that'd be ridiculous. I think it's more the idol culture or the Japanese music culture has a very insular perspective. And from what I've read in the literature, it sounds like it could be to do with back in the 90s, where at least in one specific cycle, the hip hop circles, when it came to things like sampling, there was a couple cases, there was a couple backlashes about sampling, like unofficial sampling done by Japanese artists who did not pay for their things, and then artists finding out about that and it becoming a big problem. So there was almost like a big lockdown of Japanese music staying into its cycles, and I think sampling also became a lot more tightened. And I wonder if a similar thing had sort of affected the whole industry, where they perhaps see their profits in the CD sales of. Well, I think this might be it too. That like they see their profits in CD sales and internal sales from in the shores of Japan, because CDs in Japan are just really expensive and people still buy them. But the idea of internationalizing their output, people wouldn't buy the CDs, so their model as it is now is dying. However, you can see in the last couple of years, especially, Japan has started to open up its musical library to a like online Spotify platforms and trying to push their music out wider. It's not been the most successful because when you don't promote Japanese culture, um, certain types of Japanese music, let's say, besides the stuff that YouTube's promoted for you, people aren't necessarily chomping at the bits to get to it. And yeah, like there are not platforms that like encourage people to go out and try these Japanese musics. Like there is a very few platforms. Maybe I'm one of them, but like most of the stuff I'm talking about is quite old because that's the stuff that seems to get picked up by YouTube and other places that push it. A lot of the newer stuff, not as much, not as much. I mean, there are certainly some things that have. Vocaloid, I think, has actually been one of the exceptions to the rule, where Vocaloid, there's probably a video in the works there, but there is one. But Vocaloid seems to have definitely a more international audience, and they've really embraced the internet and the culture of the fans and their fan input in such a way where the rest of them haven't, which is why Vocaloid sees far more success than the rest of them do. And then on the second bit, it would be who was the other one I was thinking of? Artists like Pamu Pamu, who have gained quite the audience from an international thing, and they tour internationally. Baby metal, I think some of the more novelty ones like that. Artists that have very strong visual iconography that have become popular in such a way that they gain attention outside of their own culture for their sort of outlandish style. I think those sort of things have an ability to gain traction, but the rest of the industry still needs to catch up. There are certain parts of K-pop that absolutely do have an influence. In fact, there was a case not 2 years ago where a certain K-pop artist was had to take down a song for sounding too much like City, um, to sound like Plastic Love, and their whole album is incredibly City pop inspired. There are a couple of Korean musicians that are taking from the City pop cycle. They noticed it was getting popular, and they started taking little parts of that into their sound. But I mean, internally, if you look at the model of K-pop is directly inspired by J-pop's model. So yeah, absolutely, there's influence, even if it isn't necessarily all musical. It is structurally influenced, and then perhaps in some of the older stuff too. Oh, okay. Good night, Billy. I hope you have a good one. Have a nice one, Billy. Sleep well. Do I think of myself as the ultimate master of obscure Japanese vintage culture fact? No, absolutely not. I feel kind of uncultured in a lot of ways, actually. I think that there's always more to learn, and especially when I'm making a video on music, I feel very limited in what I can say, just because my background isn't music, it's art. So I feel like, in a technical sense, I'm very limited by my current skill set of knowledge, and I am trying to push that barrier, but I find it quite hard to push that barrier of knowledge while also trying to keep a consistent output. I think those two things are like a dichotomy that you're always fighting against. It's like the kind of learning I'm trying to do, or the kind of cramming I'll do, is very spikedly intentionally in one area which is relevant to what I'm doing at that point. And I think that can create some really big holes in your perception. So I would not like to think of myself as some sort of ultimate obscure fact master, just because I think that creates an arrogance in you as well, that you already know everything you need to know. Where I feel like there's so much more, so much more I need to still learn. Culturally, I think there's so much more to like learn the backbone of, which I think the backbone of a lot of the influence in Japanese music is really hard to like pinpoint down unless you really studied it. Like you really studied the history and know where these things are going, because it's not just one history, it's like the history of 17,000 subcultures or whatever, and figuring that all out. I mean, I have several books, but I haven't read the whole of them. I've read parts of them for different projects. Like I have books on underground Japanese music. I have books on like YMO's upcoming. I have books on protests and Japanese protest cultures, and the war effect, like the after-war effect of Japan, war crimes. You know, I have books on all sorts of weird stuff, and just general history. I feel like there's lots more to learn. I'm glad Long you're doing okay. I'm glad you're doing just dandy. Will I one day review Hiroyuki Imashi's Dead Leaves or my alternate animated films? Um, Dead Leaves, maybe. If I was to talk about their output, I think it would be difficult to do it in a very traditional style. If I was going to start talking about that kind of art, I feel like I would have to represent that sort of insane, punchy style in the way I talk about it. That's how I feel personally. Like I feel like it would be part of a more retrospective on Trigger or Gynax Spirit, the Gynax Spirit, and that, where it came from, where it went, in a very like prompt, punchy, spliced style. Because when something's that insane, or when it's so high octane and like sappy, and just like very intense, I suppose I'd say it's like an intense teenage hormonal explosion. That's almost how the Gynex experience feels to me a lot of the time. Just relentlessly funny, intense, and working off a subculture of anime for the last 40, 50 years of like keystones and points, and being very sharp and dynamic, but also limited. I think all that stuff, it's hard to be academic about it when it's so the opposite of that. So I feel like to talk about that, you need to address it in a way that suits the style more. So maybe. Ah, yes, Billy. And remember to stay positive in the apocalypse, everyone. I think that's true for all of us. We need to stay positive in the apocalypse. I'm probably not going to go for too much longer. It's getting quite late here, and I have a limited amount of hours I can stream. Is it okay to like future funk? Yes. Like what you want. Like whatever you like. Though I would definitely argue, especially with something like future funk. If you like future funk, you should be spending some time, just looking through the samples of future funk and seeing like what songs inspired those pieces of future funk and reading those. I guess listening to those. Yeah, just check the credits for what they're sampling and listen to those songs because you're probably going to like a whole new genre of music by just finding where the influence came from. I don't think there's anything wrong with liking future funk. If you like that, like it. Don't let anyone else tell you that it's a bad genre. That's bad criticism. But always be wary about the influence because it's always a bit questionable when someone takes obscure music from a different culture and then repurposes it into shiny, flashy music for anime gifs. You got to pay your dues. You got to pay your dues and respects. Someone's asking if I play any musical instruments. Behind the camera over here is a big synth piano, a big old, I think it's a Casio. I think it's a big Casio. But I do not play very well though. I can't play at all, to be honest, but I do use it occasionally for sound effects. I guess I'm more like an ambient, experimental noise kind of thing. If I do anything like that, I tend to use it for background to set a scene, like a rhythm and a tone. But I'm no good at playing, unfortunately. Though I guess there was a point in the past where I was like, I'd like to learn, I'd like to figure it out, but it's a hard skill to pick up when I've got so much other stuff I need to focus on, skill wise, that it just doesn't get priority. I would rather learn a new language. At this point, that's what I think should be priority. I probably wouldn't do a video on like the best books I've read on Japanese culture because I don't know. I don't think I've read enough to have like a complete a com- if I was a Japanese if I was an expert, let's say like I had a PhD in Japanese history or sociology or something like that, and I had read many books. I think that would be the person you should be getting your research influences from. Japanese Japanese PhD tells you the best books about Japan. So that's a video. That's a video that can get 500,000 views, right? Uh, you know, Expert on Japan tells you about the best books about to learn about Japan from or whatever. However, you titled it to be the most snappy you possibly could. That would probably be worthwhile watching. I don't think I've read enough to have an informed opinion about what a good book on Japan is and what a bad book on Japan is because I am an outsider. And I think unless you live in Japan or unless you've spent some time there and you've spent years studying it, I think it is unfortunate that your confirmation bias is going to come out, and you're going to decide whatever book that you enjoyed reading the most is the best book about Japan, the one that represents the culture the best, opposed to actually being the most accurate. And I think that those in the inside have a better comprehension about what books actually would be the most helpful for you to understand stuff than someone who was just reading out of ignorance. But I suppose more reading is good either way, as long as you're not reading like propaganda. I probably won't be streaming much longer. I should probably cut it out because it's getting late. So let me say, I'll put a hard date on. We got another 5 minutes. That's what I'm going to say right now. 5 minutes. And before I go, I should probably say, is it Suto Mayo? Suto Mayo? Suto Mayo is the video that's coming out tomorrow. Suto Mayo, I think it means endless midnight or forever midnight. They're a band, they're a Japanese band, gone popular lately for some music videos, some animated music videos, some cool animated music videos. Check out their music videos and then check out my video tomorrow. It's probably coming out at 9 p.m. British summertime or 8 p.m. British summertime, somewhere around that. It's going to be late in the day for British time. Probably going to be in the, I guess, middle of the day ish. I don't know, for Americans. Some, whatever that time is for America. I guess it would be like the afternoon. Have I gained a new appreciation for hand-drawn anime compared to digital? I mean, dude, it's the same shit. It depends what you mean by like appreciation. Nothing I've done research-wise could give me a newfound appreciation for something. You know what gives you a newfound appreciation for doing something is to actually do it yourself. And I have worked on cells before. I have painted on celluloid. I bought celluloid and painted on it for a project, and it was the worst thing ever. It was the worst thing ever. It was a nightmare. I would not wish it on the my worst enemies. You shouldn't do it. It's bad. It's expensive and painful and bad and difficult depending on how you do it. There's a real particular rhythm to doing it. There's a right way of doing it and there's a wrong way of doing it, depending on how you're doing it as well. The oppression, because layering celluloid involves layers of paint blocking light. So there is a very particular way you need to paint on something to actually understand how it looks, which is why a lot of people, on one side you've got the line work, on the other side you do the painting, but you got to be careful with that, because if you paint too much, you're going to cover up those lines and you're not going to see what you're doing. So there's a very meticulous thing about what you have to figure out, and obviously it's coming from paper. The thing about, if we're talking in terms of anime, right? This idea of digital being different, like in Japan, digital animation is not necessarily that different than how it was before. The only difference is the time that it takes. Anything else is aesthetic. Anything else is like an aesthetic choice. Because everything in anime, for the most part, besides the young people, like I think most of the young people use tablets, but most anime is still drawn on paper. It's just scanned in and then painted digitally instead of on celluloid. And there is definitely a style to celluloid, but the style is more the limitations of the style. It's the limitations of time and real life paints. That is really it, and that they have to have a special colorist to figure that stuff out. So I think there's a lot of old anime that have really nice color palettes, really nice limited color palettes. There's also other ones that look like shit. And there's also a bunch of them that have really jagged animation, because when you have to paint everything out and draw it in such a way, and if you get it wrong, you have to scrap the whole thing, you don't have enough time to do as much more animation. Although at the same time, the way they do it today is also difficult, because modern day animation involves being much more strained for time than when you were making 2 animes a year as a company. So the difference is more, how do I put this? The difference tends to be more of an aesthetic choice. That, like, if an anime, an old, wanted to look like an old retro thing from the 80s, I just don't know if that's a thing that Japan's really that interested in as a selling point. I think they think that's a niche idea, but it only apply to a niche audience. And I think it's much more popular in the American and Western circles, this idea of retroism within the community. I think what Japan, when they make digital animation, is most interested in is being the brightest, the most saturated, the most explosive in colors. And I think there's a really good way of doing that. I mean, there are bad ways of doing that. But, when there's more anime coming out, there's going to be more trash coming out too. And always remember, the cream rises to the top. The stuff you remember from the celluloid era, the traditional era, is the stuff that is remembered and hasn't been forgotten by time. Because a lot of that stuff from that time has just gone. The license has gone, the copies are gone, the masters are gone. It's just, it ain't coming back unless someone finds a copy in a bin somewhere. A great author on Japanese popular culture is Sophie Kinsella, is it? I guess I have to take your word for it. I just don't know what her background is. All right, so Blue Bamboo Music says they're going to get some sleep. Well, I hope you have some good sleep. I probably need to get some sleep soon enough myself. I hope you enjoy sleep. Have a nice night. Someone saying Suto Mayonaka di in Inoni. Yeah, I think that's the full title for the band. So she's talking about kawaii culture, is she? So I don't know where her perspective is or where she's coming from on kawaii culture. That is a pretty interesting topic, though. Oh. Yeah, Megalobox did it. And again, Megalobox was, I think, targeting a very Toonami-based audience, considering they're already on Toonami. I have a feeling that they were trying to push for an international like style, and they tried to push for something a bit more classic. And I think there are issues with the way that newer digital stuff is done. A lot of it's like over painted. That's what I would call, especially the backgrounds. I think sometimes over painted. I think simplicity is really king. But I think it's very easy to like if you want to emulate an older style. I mean, Dragon Ball Super is doing this nowadays. The newer stuff, like the movie that just came out, like you can do it. Like you can add a texture overlay. You can add some dust and freckles and texture. It's really easy, guys. It's really bloody easy to do it. The major difference between the two things is more so about the dimension. When you design something for like 480p, you probably wouldn't even be able to tell what's digital and what's not at that point if you just downscale it to that point, especially on a newer screen. It's all about. I mean, yeah, generally, if you downscale your images, your digital images to 480p and shove them on a CRT, you wouldn't be able to tell if it's digital or not. You wouldn't have a fucking clue. Oh, she's a British. She's a fucking British person. Oh, fuck that. Why would I listen to some British person talking about Japanese culture? What a fucking idiot, eh? Who'd do that? You'd possibly listen to a British person talk about Japanese stuff. That's just silly. I'm sure she makes interesting stuff. I mean, there's a fine background credentials, though they do make me feel a bit like she's a bit of an academic, maybe like a bit of a rich academic. So I don't know where her perspective's coming from, but I guess I'd have to check it out. Oh, yeah, I know you meant Megalobox. Oh, Sharon. So her name, Sharon. I don't know. Sharon. Ooh, I'm not liking that name. Sharon Kinsella, right? I'll have a look at it later. Sharon's a little too close to Karen for my liking. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure she is an academic. Just an academic perspective to me is a little bit like. I mean, I've been in the. I used to work at a university. The academic circle to me is a little bit burnt out and kind of, it's a little dirty. It's a little dirty word to me at this point. A little frustrating, but maybe she has some good points. Maybe she has some good perspective. Sometimes I feel when you're an academic outsider to a culture and you start laying down stuff, it can get a bit weird. Like your perspective on it. I mean, as long as she's quoting people from Japan and other people in the culture to sort of get her point across, I don't really have a problem with it. As long as she isn't making grand assumptions of her own about what Japanese kawaii culture really means, because it's a pretty broad topic. I mean, but she probably knows more than I do. Like, who the fuck am I, eh? I'm another Brit. I don't even have a fucking degree in kawaii culture. She obviously spends a lot of time doing it. Haha, Suma. Is that at me? Because I'm not a Suma. I'm a millennial. I'm not that young. I just assume well. I mean, most people in my comment section, I have the grand assumption are Sumas. They're all pretty young. They're mostly quite young. I mean, I think it's generally people in their 20s, but there seems to be a second category is more 13 to 17, I think. All right, is there any last questions? Because I should probably get off because it's getting close to 12 o'clock at night for me. So I should probably cut this real short. Anything else besides? So yeah, new video out tomorrow, guys. Already on Patreon. There's also a secret video on Patreon. Check it out. I'll wait to see if I get one last comment. You guys have got like a minute, or I'm off. I'll just pick up my laptop. There we go. Kauai, more like Hawaii. Got him. Aloha. Wait, I don't know what goodbye is. Oh, that's my limited amount of culture right now. Let me take these glasses off. Yeah, I'm not that young either. I'm not young enough to be a sumo. Yeah, I think we're done here. I think we're good. I need to like. Oh yeah, more like scared. Yeah. What books do you read to learn about anime? Well, okay, that'll be the last question. What books to read about anime? Let me think what a good book would be. There are plenty of books on the subject. I mean, you know, there's what like, God, what? There's one that's called like Fighting Girl, is it? Like Strong Fighting Girl or Strong Independent, like Mythical Fighting Girl, or I forget the name of that one. There's a lot of like different levels of talking about Japanese culture. I have a book somewhere which I may or may not may have taken from my local, well, my university library, never given back, called Anime History. Anime history is like a foundational perspective of like the history of anime. I can't verify how good the sources are overall, but it's probably better than nothing. But there's a lot of stuff in there about the history of anime. It might be Beautiful Fighting Girl. Stray Dog of Anime, Beautiful Fighting Girl. I recommended a bunch of stuff in other ones. Starting Point by Miyazaki is follow-on book. It's quite difficult in a lot of ways because some of the best books on Japanese anime stuff don't tend to get translated, which is a real unfortunate thing. Like I think Blood, Sweat, and Cells is probably one of the ones that seems to be the most interesting to me personally, which is about the Toei years in the animators at Toei in the peak golden years and their experiences with that. I think that is would be one of the most fascinating books to get translated. I hope one day it is translated because I bet there's some real gold in there because it talks to all these like famous or like very influential famous animators from back then and their experiences. There's probably some others, but I can't for the life of me think of them right now. I think it's almost better to get a wider picture of the culture too, because the historical context of Japan affects the anime of its generation. So even if you can't read about the anime, reading about the history of Japan for those periods that the anime you're looking into are from can help you just get like a basis for that. Like how in the 80s, the massive expansion of the 80s and the expanding economy, how well it was doing, and the infinite kind of cess they were throwing into random projects, like how corporations were just getting musicians to make random connected musical albums to products like lipstick or makeup. It's just wild, and how the OVA culture exploded in such an industry where like people were willing to just throw random money into like a bunch of animators making a 45-minute short and see if it sells well on the VHS tapes or Betamax or Laserdisc or whatever. That very much affected the way things were made. But yeah, other stuff. I think there's a couple of NHK documentaries you'll probably find on different like anime, like important ones that have documentaries about their making of. I mean, there's a fair few on Miyazaki. You have Kingdom of Dreams and Madness. There's an NHK documentary about 10 years with Miyazaki. There's an NHK documentary about the making of Gundam, etc., etc. I think there's one on KyoAni. they did translate Starting Point and Turning Point, which they're not exactly biography, but they are like a bunch of writing by him. Probably the closest you're going to get to a biography from Miyazaki, as far as I understand. Anything else is probably written by a different person. But those are like writings and his philosophy. They're quite disjointed, but they do go through a lot of the stuff he's done and his philosophy at that time. I guess the issue with a lot of Miyazaki's stuff in that position is that his position on stuff seems to always kind of be changing and also changing back. It's like an infinite loop where Miyazaki will take the position of one side of an argument to then simply reflect the other side the next time you talk to him. He's a man of like swaying. I mean, he's certainly a 19th, no, a 20th. Yeah, he's a 20th century man. He's a man that seems to be, somebody always call him a primitive, what do you call it? Like a primitive acnet? A primo anarchist or something like that. He kind of like, I get the impression he's the kind of man that would rather live out in a cabin on oil, away from technology forever, in the woods, um, like that, and to completely disregard pretty much all technology, besides very small things like windmills and I don't know, probably planes, maybe his CD player. He's that kind of guy. All right, so I think this is going to be the end of the stream. I think we've been going for apparently almost 2 hours. Oh god. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna say goodbye. I'm gonna say goodnight and goodbye. And my laptop's already running out of battery anyway, so it's probably good to call it quits now before I've run too much.